Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Reasonably Effective podcast. I am Uncommon Fossil and joined by 10 Types.
Yep. Hello, everyone.
So today we're talking about everybody's favorite topic to hate on. Well, not everybody's. There's many things people love to hate on, but Pokemon TCG Live, right? That's what's relevant to this podcast topic, Pokemon TCG. And Live has not been good. It's been out for I think about 4 years when the limited beta dropped. It was in November of 2022. So getting close to 3.5 years that they had the global beta, and it was been out of beta, I don't know, like 3 years or something. And it's still, if you were playing it back before Live was out, meaning playing Pokemon TCG online, people were excited about Live. They were thinking, because Pokemon TCG PCCGO was showing its age for sure, and people were excited about this. That it just needed to get updated, get joined the modern ranks with other online games, and hopefully, and the thought was the Pokemon running it, they'd be more responsive to issues as well. Obviously, things have not gone well with it, but the game has been worse than PTCGO, unfortunately, for the most part. Less features, but we have good. What's good news, I think. We'll find out implementation soon how it goes, but they're getting some fixes and they're getting some features in, and actually getting it to the point where it's going to be possibly better than PTCGO. We'll have to kind of debate that at the end of the podcast, but I am excited about these changes and talking through some of them.
Yeah, I'm. I guess also excited. I certainly care about the game and the state of it, and want Live to be as good as possible. I actually recently made a video, and I've been hearing a lot of people having more issues with like disconnects and various different bugs and
Yep.
things like that, which we will be talking a little bit about today. And then also, I saw these like obviously we talk about the podcast topic, and you're like. You said, and I've heard other people say as well that there's some like big stuff for Live, and I looked and I didn't see it as big as other people, but I am excited to talk about it today and break it down here. But where do you want to go first?
Why don't we start off with the letters to the community? That's in theory should be the biggest thing, right? And that should give us the overview, and that kind of hits a lot of the topics. So you good with that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
So it will have we'll have links to it, and I will on Common Fossil, probably 10 Types will as well, to these articles in the description for the videos on YouTube, and you can always find these things in the Pokemon forums, which is useful to an extent. I keep an eye, and there's useful things occasionally like this. So letter to the community, looking at, which is dated April 16, 2026. So they're doing an update coming up. The update's getting implemented April 21st. It'll be down for 8 hours or so, as always. This is a bigger update potentially, so I don't know. Occasionally they run long. I don't know if this one will. The first thing, which is I think which is significant, I think it's been one of the problems with Live, is the deck editors getting an update. How much it solves all the issues, I think, with it, we will see. But the big thing is, which is one of the things that lagged from PTCGO, is they're offering multiple import experiences when importing a deck from an external deck list, is what it says here. So you can use the classic setting if you're old enough to remember the days when Coca-Cola changed its formula. They went from Coke to New Coke, but that went so badly they went back to Coke Classic. So you can have the classic flavor here of the current deck editor, or you have two other options. It will auto select own cards, or it will auto select the rarest owned cards. So not entirely sure how the just owned cards would work, but back in PTCGO, when you imported a deck list, if I recall, it would import arts you owned. If you're importing a deck list with arts that you don't have, which if you're getting it from Limitless, I think it defaults to the most recent released card, which you might not have the playset of that you need, or if it's someone's deck list, like on a YouTube channel, some people like doing the rare arts, and if that's what you're getting, you're less likely to own it. So then you have to go through and manually adjust the art. So this is a big thing. Will make life a lot easier.
Yeah, I feel like this is cool. It's definitely nice. I'm trying to think in PTCGO if it actually like how well it worked. Like I know it mostly worked. I don't know if it 100% worked. and this is giving you more options, so it is going above and beyond that, um, which is nice, and I think it is good, right? Being able to,
Yeah.
import decks easier, and just generally the deck editor being better, I think is good. There's the other one, which is also nice, and I think that goes along with it, is that we are getting a full screen deck viewer. I know this is something a lot of
Yeah.
people, I guess people have been like, we kind of have like the collection viewer thing or whatever. I haven't like used that at all, essentially,
Right.
except that it always has like says that there's new stuff because you're always getting like new cards. But ultimately having this full screen deck viewer, I know is something that is nice. It's kind of awkward to view a deck. I mean, you kind of need to go into the editor and then you could edit it, and then that is kind of
Right.
awkward if like you accidentally make a change to your list and now you don't know what to do. It does autosave, which I think is generally good that autosaves, but also it can be bad, right? So
Yeah.
I think having that option is definitely good. I will also mention, like I was like looking at my deck list the other day, and I was I was looking at it in the deck, the deck viewer, not in the deck editor, and as in like the scene, the screen where you have all your decks, and it was like ordered, and then I went into the deck editor and it was like not ordered, which is kind of annoying. So I feel like if that was like changed as well, that'd be kind of cool, and things kind of just cleaning it up and hopefully, and as we're going to kind of talk about here, and as you kind of allude to, it is a big update. They're like changing a bunch of things, so hopefully some of that like kind of weird stuff going on, where you just have these like kind of just kind of strange things that happen that don't really make a ton of sense. Hopefully those get cleaned up. Um, I don't know if they will, and it's not like a huge deal, but it is something that as they continue to work on and improve, that is good. And ultimately, there are going to be a bunch of things like that in this episode here as we kind of break it down. Maybe, hopefully.
Yeah, look, it's a good thing that it's going to get your art to where I've always from when it was first announced, and I still think we should be able to choose the arts we want. Like for a card, the example I would have used in the past was your favorite professor for Professor's Research. Of course, they just got rid of that from standards, so but I'll still hold on to that as the example today because it's recent enough. I expect everyone to be familiar with that. So there's I don't know a million different professors in the professor's research card. Obviously exaggeration, but lots of them. And you have your own favorite. You probably have 4 copies of each one, and just being able to like click a button and say this is my preferred art would be nice. We're not at that point, but at least getting arts you own because when you import lists and you have to change them, it is a nuisance. So I'm glad for that there. Yeah, having the full screen deck view is good. You could actually like on your tablet, you could actually see the deck better um, in a complete deck list than in on the PC, which was always a little odd to me. I personally don't like the fact that it auto saves for you just because too many times I have because you have to open the deck editor to look at the deck list. You accidentally click something without realizing it, and all of a sudden you have 59 cards, and now I have to go through and try to figure out which one card I accidentally deleted. If I don't know if it's even a Pokemon or like a trainer, it's not a fun place. If it's a deck I haven't really not haven't dealt with much or haven't dealt with in a while, so that's always been an issue. But be able to look at it full screens, a good thing for sure. So we'll see. They haven't provided any screenshots with it, so we won't know till it comes out what it's actually going to look like. And I don't know. Is it really going to be full screen with a full deck for a GLC list? I don't know that it can because that's a lot of cards there. But that'll be a good thing. I assume so. The next thing, which I don't even know what it's referring to. I don't know if you do 10 types, but removed auto cycling from big card view. So I don't really pay attention to what that
Uh,
is. I probably know what it is, but I don't know for certain.
yeah, I'm not sure. I actually have no idea.
Okay.
Trying to think what even is big card? Is that when you like click on a what I'm thinking? Oh yeah. So this is when okay. So it says specifically the experience will no longer auto close and select the next card automatically when the card count is reduced to 0. So if you're looking at you want to add a card to your deck,
Okay.
then you click on the card in the editor and then you can like click like there's that thing at the bottom where you can like add or subtract cards and then
Yep.
also you can like get the other arts or whatever. So that's I guess the big card view and then with that if you remove all the arts then it like goes to the next card
Okay.
which is like a thing, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it doesn't
Oh
doesn't really
yeah.
matter.
Well,
But
yeah, okay.
oh wait, no,
I
actually,
see.
um,
Go ahead.
yeah, this might be what you're about to say, but if you're like changing out the arts and you have 4 copies of it, you want to remove all 4 and then add 4 new ones, and
Yeah.
then it will like it's kind of annoying.
Right. Or if you have like, if especially if there's only one copy, you have to then add a copy and then delete the old copy. If you delete
Yeah,
the old copy, it disappears. So that's what I was talking about. Also, which is an issue with changing arts, but it won't be such a big issue because now you're only going to have arts you own anyway. But okay, so that's a good. That's a little thing,
yeah.
not a big deal,
Yeah.
I would say.
Also another thing. This is kind of this is related to something you said earlier, which is
Yeah.
uh, kind of funny. It's kind of stupid, but you said that there's a million professors research arts or a million professors
Yeah.
researchers, and then you're like, yeah, obviously they're exaggerating. Except you're not, because in live you own infinite professors research, or I own infinite professors researchers, because
That's true.
it's more than like 60 or whatever, right, or something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
I think once it's 60, it's infinite because you can fill your deck with it, I
Yeah.
guess.
Even though I think, or actually 59, I think you could have infinite energies in your deck. Like, not actually, but it does say infinity. I don't know why they added infinity to the game. It seems kind of stupid. Um, like never useful, right? Like, it's not even true. It's not useful. Like, I don't know. But anyways, that was like
Right.
another funny and a weird quirk of the deck editor, of which there are quite a few.
Yeah, yeah, and I assume that's not changing, but yeah, yeah. There's weird things with the deck editor. This next aspect, I don't fully know what it is, but visual clues to make it clear what you own and don't own, both for different arts and stuff. And that's a good thing. I assume, assuming they implement it well. I haven't found that to be too difficult myself, but I do know, like, I pay attention to the Pokemon TCG forums, and you always get questions periodically about I can't find my cards and I don't know. So hopefully it will make it clear there for people that are less experienced.
Yeah, and I think also the deck validation thing. Like, I feel like it's just pretty clear on if a deck's not legal and why it's not legal
Yeah.
and what cards aren't legal. But that's good to have. Definitely, again, something some people get confused by, specifically newer players, right?
Yeah.
Because and especially with like rotation or just like say different formats. If they're messing around with that for like say the first time, then definitely can be a little weird. And so seeing that I think is good. I don't know exactly what changes they're going to make, and I don't think that they necessarily need to make changes to it, but it's cool to see. Again, it's a small feature. I'd say most of these are small. I would say all of them are kind of small features. They are some things that people have been kind of asking for a little while, but they don't like drastically change, or they like change the game a little. They don't even change the actual obviously gameplay here. They're just stuck at their stuff, and they're nice. They're fine. They're cool.
Well, I will say I do think that being able to, for the importing decks to being only arts you own, I think that's a good thing and well needed. So that one's significant. And the full screen view is good, I think, mainly for content creators, assuming it works well, because so people don't have to go to third party websites or resources to talk about the list, and then if for you do a deck overview, then some gameplay in live that can be all be done in live, and that's not just good for Pokemon, right? With getting the product out there more. So I think, but yeah, it's not huge, but this has been, I think, needed, and it's just good that it's happening along with some of these other things that we'll talk about.
Yeah. But then next, I guess we're just going down this. Oh, there's not that much more to this letter. So the next thing is new learning lab lessons. This is actually interesting. So, Uncommon Fossil, how much of
Yeah.
the learning lab have you done?
I had done some when it first came out, and because of this, I went and actually the other day I went and I finished them. So
Okay.
I have completed their learning lab, and although the one deck you're playing the Charizard deck, which is anyway, I don't know why they do that deck, but the
Like
Mega
the old,
Charizards.
oh, Mega Charizard? Okay.
No, it's the Mega Charizard. Although for the one part which I did yesterday, I was playing the old Gardevoir deck. So, which part of it was the thing for the basics was still using pre-rotation cards.
Yeah. Okay, well,
So
that's definitely something there. But anyway, so there's a new lesson on the difference between damage counters, which
yeah,
is really important. says they can be more confusing than Kadabra, which is kind of funny because Alakazam is damage counters, right? And so that's
Yes.
definitely something interesting there. It's not like super complicated, but it definitely is a bit unintuitive. Um, and definitely something that new players should learn. But what are your thoughts on the Learning Lab? Because I've done like a couple things in the Learning Lab, just a few.
Look, it's a good thing. Well, first off, it's been I've seen complaints by people that Live needs this for years. So, um, it's good that they added this, which was added not that long ago, the Learning Labs in the first place. And then they have something one on rotation, which hopefully, there's always questions on rotation, so that's good there as well. It's good that it's there. Like I said, I did it actually. It was last evening. I went through some of these lessons, and I will say, like, they are having you do some suspect strategies at issues, like because it tells you do this and click here, and it forces you to take certain actions. And sometimes the actions were not smart, so that's its own thing. Like the one, what's the new card, the new mega that you flip a bunch of coins with? For you have to
Zygarde,
put
yeah, I saw that as one of the lesson sections. It was interesting.
Yeah, and you need like six.
Uh,
I mean, it's nice. It's a new one of the new decks they gave out, so they have it. The lesson, that's fine. But you have a situation, and they like forced you to like to do the coin flips, and it's like, yeah, you better. And they kind of said it in the text, like, yeah, you kind of better hope you hit heads, or else you're going to lose by this action. So, whereas you could have used the other attack and put yourself in a state where I won't win this, a more advantageous position guaranteed, but it forces you to flip coins at times, hoping you get heads. It forces you to like, I need to attach an energy when I was playing the Lucario with this Lunatone Soul Rock, and I had the one energy I needed to attach in hand, but instead it made me discard the energy with what is it, Lunatone?
Lunastone. Yeah.
And I drew an energy because it knows that's going to happen. But in the actual game, you shouldn't do that because you might not hit your energy and then you can't attack. So it forces you in the Learning Lab introduction to make some bad strategy decisions, which that part's unfortunate.
Yeah, and with those decisions, they're not just like they're a bit more nuanced than that, but it kind of seems like it just doesn't do that. Also, I will say with the rotation one, I believe that with the rotation one, they like give you a
Yeah.
pre-rotation deck and then like talk to you about why some of them are like rotating, right?
Yes.
So it had Squawkabilly EX in it, I believe,
That sounds correct. Yeah.
and I think it doesn't work turn one, but it works turn two or something like
Oh
that.
yeah. Yes, yeah, because I did that one last evening, so it's fresh. Yes, yes. You start the game. You couldn't do it turn one, although I think the game was already in play. It wasn't
Yeah,
like so because like with the Learning Labs thing, sometimes you're in the middle of a game, which is fine. So I couldn't use Squawkabilly turn one. I figured, okay, my first turn, I figured, okay, I'm in the middle of the game because it was already in play on the board and stuff.
yeah.
And then also in my next turn, it had me use Squawkabilly EX, which of course
Oh, it
wouldn't
has you do
actually
that. Like it makes you do
it
that.
forced you to do it, I think, in the learning. It's like I had to do it turn two, or it allowed me to. I don't remember, but which I shouldn't obviously have been able to do it turn two when I couldn't do it turn one. So yeah,
Yeah, so that's kind of weird. Definitely kind of strange in general, but it is like the idea is good. I'd also say it's a little, I don't know. I was gonna say like not hard to access, but like I don't know. Especially tell us if you're a new player, if you think if you've like used it, and if you like used it when you first got into the game, if you've joined the game since it's been added, because I definitely feel like it's. I mean, like it is very good for new players. It teaches you the rules, but
yeah.
also like it needs to be there for like new players. If you like find it as you explore the game later on, then it's not very useful at all. Like I imagine you didn't learn anything from it other than Squawkabilly EX Turn 2.
Yeah, no, I didn't learn. Right, no, I didn't learn anything that I didn't know. It is really for new players, and I think it's in the you access it through what the casual section. I think,
Yeah, you have to like
which
click
isn't.
through some tabs. It's kind of strange.
Yeah, I can't remember where it is offhand, but I remember it was in a funny spot. So they need to address that. Specifically, though, what they've added here is a good thing. The idea between doing damage, and placing damage counters is very unintuitive. I will say. I think so. Ten types can tell me. I mean, what he thinks as well. But I think it's unintuitive to new players. They don't get it. For my channel, the two biggest videos I've had. One is a cast form deck that was just one that blew up really big, and then the second one now is one on the distinction between damage, doing damage, placing damage counters, and that one came out a while ago, and it just keeps getting steady views. And I honestly, I keep getting questions on a regular basis too about the distinction. So it very much is an issue that people don't understand. So hopefully this is something that's needed, and hopefully people find it and get to it, and hopefully it's clear about what the distinction is, so it helps things out.
Yeah, it definitely is a nice thing. It actually says here as well that this lesson is a direct result of player requests. So, and they're also looking for new ideas there. So that's interesting and pretty good to see, I think.
Yeah,
Obviously, with them in some ways listening to the community, I don't know exactly how much, but it is good to see that, and definitely something that it is, as you were saying, like, and I don't know if issue, but some of that is confusing there. I'm trying to think of
yeah.
other things like that. There are definitely, I was gonna say special conditions. Is there one on special conditions? Am I wrong about that?
um I don't think there is, but that's a good question. So I don't think so. I'll just make a note to check. But I don't think I saw one last the other day when I did it, but I had done it also a little while ago. So I don't remember if there was an earlier one.
Yeah, but overall, I would say it is definitely, it's cool to see, right? It's cool to see them
Yeah.
um, do this, and hopefully, it's a way for new players to get, understand the game a little better. I think in terms of if they added actual like strategy stuff, which I don't think they've really done, maybe some like loose strategy stuff, but that could be useful. If people want that, like the quote unquote advanced ones, I think some of them are literally just rules as well. Um,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if you remember that either.
Think it might be something like on like some basic sequencing logic would be useful, certainly.
Yeah.
Uh, that's probably at that level of strategies what they could do with just general rules. Which of course, anything like that, there's times you violate the rules, but just having some basic strategy concepts to fall back on would be good. Obviously, getting implemented gets trickier. So, we'll see down the road that like I said, it's a good thing they added it. The rotation was good. This new damage one hopefully is a good thing to have. And then as they do new decks like for the Zygarde and such, it's a plus. I don't think any experienced player, certainly I don't like the Zygarde ones. I don't know that people really need it, but it's a nice way since they're trying to push the Zygarde deck on people. If you're a new player, hopefully you quickly learn the lesson not to play the Zygarde deck, because I can't imagine it's actually. I don't think it's. I haven't really actually played it. I don't think it's a good thing. And certainly for new players, that's not a good thing to be encouraging. But it's nice that they're kind of promoting the new toys out there.
Yeah, it is cool. And I hope they continue to add more stuff. We're going to talk about some other stuff as well. But I guess
Yeah,
the last section of this letter here, I mean, at the end they do say like there's stuff coming or whatever. But
yeah,
then it says improve support for tablet devices. So there then now some these devices with large enough screens can now, or sorry, with large enough enough RAM, and then these ones with I believe just tablet devices, so the larger screens for the mobile devices can now have desktop landscape, which is kind of cool. Definitely something I don't use the like tablets, but yeah. And it's again, it says this is a player request thing, and I've definitely heard this one quite a bit, and it can be changed in the settings, which is cool, and I think a nice little thing there. This little quality of life thing. I wouldn't say, I'd say pretty much all these things are quality of life, but they are that, right? Which is cool to see.
yeah. I mean, look, yeah. There's been a lot of people requesting landscape mode. It's going to be for tablets, based on what they said here, not phones. So I don't. At least I don't anticipate phones, right? If you're playing on your cell phone, it's still going to be portrait only. There's tricky, it's a small screen, so there's pluses and minuses to different ways to view that. But it's nice on a tablet to be able to do it in landscape, which is more what you'd be used to. So yeah, it's a nice thing, but it's not huge. I would agree with that. And then they say here at the end, there's lots of exciting content not far down the road you won't want to miss. I'm a bit skeptical that there's really a bunch more that's going to be that exciting. But we'll also talk about what's not going on in this video too. But there's more new stuff to talk about before we get to that, I would say. But that's the community letter, which really hits the overview, and then there is the patch notes for it as well, which they do with every update, talking about specific issues. So not gonna a lot of it repeats what was in the community letter, so not gonna hit that. But as I just kind of skimmed through again, the deck editor, which I don't think adds anything new beyond what we said and such. There's issues. There's a bunch of bug issues, which is good. Specific card issues. That's always good that they're getting fixed. Not good that they were there in the first place. I do think it's been a bit of a. They've had more bugs with cards lately, which is unfortunate. But this is under the bug fixes. This is potentially the biggest thing that's being addressed here. We will see what it says here. Fixed an issue that occasionally prevented valid cards from being selected during a search action. So one of to me, the biggest problems with Live has been the inability to select cards at times, like you play your Buddy Buddy Poffin and you can't get all the cards you want. There's cards that you should be able to pick with something. It's sitting there, but you click on it, it won't act. It's not clickable. So that at times has been, it costs games. Like back before when we had Nest Ball, when I was playing a game and I play my Nest Ball turn one, and I need to get my Squawkabilly EX, and it's sitting there, it's not prized, and I can't click it. I can click any other Pokemon, basic Pokemon, put it onto my bench, but I can't get that Squawkabilly EX, and a lot of times that just leads to a game loss, and that's been a big problem. Hopefully, this is just they're finally fixing it because there's no caveats to it that we're improving it, which they've talked about in the past. But hopefully that's getting fixed because that is the number one problem in Live to me right now.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it definitely is like it's something that needs to be in the game. But like, or I mean, it needs to work, right? Like it doesn't work and it needs to be fixed. That being said, I do feel like it's not like super common. I will also mention, well, okay, this isn't actually what they're saying here, but they're talking about like not being able to select cards. Sometimes you can't boss a certain Pokemon or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same issue. I'm not 100% sure, but I think so. And so hopefully they're fixing that. If they're not, then that's kind of weird. Like I think they are the same issue as I said. So hopefully they are because they probably should be fixing it here. Ultimately, this is an issue. I don't think it's like people are like, it can be annoying, especially if it loses you a game. But I don't know. I wouldn't say it's like, I don't know. It is annoying. It is an issue, but I wouldn't say it's like I wouldn't say like it's a complete game changer either.
Well, look, it's gotten a lot better. It used to. There was a point in time when it was like every like fourth game or something, it happened.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. Honestly, it probably depends how much you're playing. Obviously it does, but as well as what decks you're playing and stuff. But it doesn't. I probably, if it's once a week, that's probably a lot for me these days. The biggest thing, I find, which is what you talked about, is the inability to like boss something up, which I assume, I hope that gets fixed with this too, because that is a big problem. And with that, I've noticed it happens if my opponent has something on the bench, and if I click on it and it won't give me information, it's like somehow my computer doesn't know it's there for whatever reason, then that's the card. Then I can't boss it up. Now you haven't. I've noticed that connection. So somehow the game just doesn't know that card's there. But then, like, if my opponent then will do something with the card, if they evolve it, all of a sudden it gets sorted out. If they promote it from the bench to the active, all of a sudden it's sorted out. The computer knows it. But somehow, at times, the game just doesn't seem to understand it. It has something there, but it's kind of void, right? It just has this kind of blank marker somehow in the game. So hopefully this is fixing that, because that is, it's certainly very frustrating when it happens to everyone. So and there's no reason why it should be happening as much as it has, and it has taken them, it's really been a problem since the beginning of the game that's there, and it's improved, but it still hasn't gotten sorted out. And that's just, you just can't have a problem that's big of a problem that's sitting around for that long.
Yeah, it's definitely an issue, and I think the issue is that it is like the issue itself is a problem, but it's not like the worst thing in the world. Um, but I mean, it's bad. It's like it's annoying and it's something that shouldn't be there. But I think the biggest issue
Yeah.
is that it should not be in the game, right? Um,
Right.
it's like it is something that it's like this weird bug that they just can't seem to be able to fix. So hopefully they are fixing it. I mean, they're acknowledging it here, and saying that they're going to fix it. So that's good. But we will see what happens with that. But again, it is a step in the right direction. Is it, so you said there was something huge. Is that the huge thing?
Uh, yeah, there's one more thing that I think is pretty big too, but I think that's the big thing. I mean, the fact that they couldn't fix it for years, it was over, probably like 2 years. There was like an issue that they acknowledged it was an issue, and acknowledged it was a major issue, and then didn't know how to fix it. That was very concerning. So this is probably if they fix the issue once and for all, this is huge news, right? It's sad that it's the hugest news because it's just getting it to a place that it should have been all along. But it is a big deal. There is on this one other item here which I want to mention on the patch notes. They fix this is part of the just live the badness of live. So here is they fixed an issue with the new Dragapult EX starter deck that incorrectly contained 4 caretakers instead of 4 Buddy Poffins, which I didn't know that. Well, first off, well, is there anything else you want to say about the card selection bug?
Uh, no.
Sorry.
I don't know. Are we gonna? I guess I'll quickly mention with the regular cards
Yeah.
bugs. I mean, there's just like a bunch of them. Like these are like ones I didn't even know about, and there are some that I do know about. Like I mean, one of them, or I don't think it's mentioned here, but like I've been playing a lot of Mega Frost last, and it like said the wrong damage. It actually calculated it right, but it said the wrong thing, and this has been like
Yeah.
an issue for a while. I'm trying to see. There's also some like Decision by EX stuff, which is kind of related as well, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah. There's things like there's been issues with Slow Kings, which I don't know if that's addressed here. That's obviously a little more complicated attack, so I see why if you're going to have problems with something like that. But there've been, yeah, there's issues, and yeah, the damage being incorrectly like displayed is like it displays wrong, but it seems to calculate correctly. So it's kind of, there's still weird stuff going on. So with these issues, so hopefully, anyway, they're addressing stuff, so that's good in that sense. So the starter decks. Let me just talk. First off, you get each year with rotation. They're giving us 8 brand new starter decks. This year I got 4 of the 8 decks. I know other people got less. So not everyone got all 8. I think I got all the cards. It was hard to know. There are the deck lists on that are available online. So I built the starter decks myself, and I did have all the cards in my collection. I might have just had them through. They don't really give you new cards anyway, so I might have had them. So that's one thing that hopeful that they're not listing here. So hopefully that gets sorted out too, because new players, that's an issue for them. But then one of the starter decks is the Dragapult EX starter deck, which is one of the ones I got, so I could verify this. But they gave you the wrong cards. For Caretaker, which in Caretaker is not a very useful supporter. It's a draw 2 supporter, and it's kind of designed to work with a stadium, which the deck doesn't have. Whereas Buddy Poffin is super important for the deck. I hadn't actually played that new starter deck, but yes, I can verify. I had 4 caretakers in the deck instead of four Buddy Poffins. So they're gonna fix that issue. But for any people that have already, if you already are using live, you're gonna have to manually edit it yourself, which you have copies of, as they say here. But that's just an example of live not, unfortunately not being run very competently, which we see too often.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's definitely like it's just like such a weird issue. Like how does this happen, right? I mean, I don't know. I get things
Right.
happen. And I like whatever, right? But
Yeah.
they keep happening. Like how does all these weird things keep happening, right? You know?
Y- y-
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it happens because the one is TWM 144, the other's TEF 144, so they mistyped the wrong letters in. I get it. It happens. It takes a while to figure these things out, and it just happens way too much. So I think The development team probably is just way too small, would be my guess. I did hear rumors that they're looking to hire someone, a new person to kind of help at the higher up level for this, which may be true. I don't know myself for that, so I just have heard rumors about that. So, that which that could fit in because they are doing a lot of changes now. This is a bunch. They're addressing more things at this time than is usual, which and that's the positive. But yeah, there are too many of these just stupid problems in the game, unfortunately.
Yeah, and this one, this one like kind of makes sense that they made like a typo, got the wrong set. There are definitely
Yeah.
some that are um a lot weirder. Also, it's kind of weird that they say like various fixes and polishes. I get that like makes sense. I
Yeah.
suppose to include there, but also like what does that mean, right? And it's also you kind of look at the bugs as well. It also I see one interesting bug to talk about here. Um,
Yeah.
that you fix an issue where letting the timer what is it run while using Shaman from Perfect Order's Sunflower's attack could cause a long delay in
Yeah.
missing controls or something. I don't know. That seems like super weird. Um, but yeah, definitely definitely strange there, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're right. Let the timer running out while you're in the middle of something shouldn't. It should just kind of end your turn or something at that point. The fact that it causes all these weird glitches, that it just has always seemed to that the way they've coded this is more complicated than it needs to be. It seems like they've kind of created a mess with this from the beginning, which I think might be the case just because they've they've just had so many problems with so many things sorted out. But hopefully, this is I think a major change, and hopefully getting us in a better direction.
Yeah, and you can also see like issues with like the Kingdra like timing out. You can even see like just really weird stuff like Naveen apparently if you play it with exactly three other cards in hand, it would discard those cards, but only with three
Yeah.
cards in hand. Like what? That's kind of weird. Like very weird.
Yeah, why? Yeah, why are these really funny situations that don't make any sense? Why would they be triggering? So, yeah, which means things have. Yeah, it's hard to know why. It means there's a lot of weird interactions with the way the code is going and looping. I would think because otherwise you shouldn't ever have these issues. Shouldn't be possible really, unfortunately. But it's where we've been. It's where the game's at. There's one other thing that I think is big, and this could be this is another major thing. You're done with the patch notes page, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So there's system requirements update for iOS and Mac devices, which is a short article. So two things on it. First off, what the main focus is, if you have an iOS or Mac device, you need to be using a newer version of the software. For iOS, I looked it up. It's going from iOS 12 is the minimum to iOS 15 is the minimum. iOS 12 came out in 2018. iOS 15 came out in 2021. So not those aren't crazy things. Obviously, for people that are affected by it, that is unfortunate. I get it, but having something that's a little more robust and hopefully functions better is a good thing. So I do feel bad for the people that it negatively impacts, but hopefully it's making a better game. Android doesn't get affected, so that's a little weird there. But the big thing, which is in this article, which is in this little statement, is they're migrating to Unity 6 in preparation for future features and performances. They're migrating as part of this update on April 21st to Unity 6. So that is what's called a game engine. It came out, Unity 6 came out in 2024. So it is the newest version of this engine. Now, I don't know what the current engine is. I assume it's an older version of Unity, but don't know. But upgrading the engine is a big deal and getting it up, so that is, so that which will let them do more things in the future with it, like they say here, future features and performance improvements. So upgrading the engine, I think, is a very good thing. It's a scary thing because the history of Live, when they even add new cards, isn't good. So making a change to the engine, there's probably a chance that Live is going to crash for a bit too, unfortunately. But in long term, upgrading the engine. I'm glad it shows some commitment to Live into its development, which we haven't seen in a while. So to me, I think the Unity 6 upgrade is a big deal.
Yeah, I'd also agree that this like could be a big deal. I don't know if it necessarily is. I could see it being a big deal there. Um, I could, as you're saying, also see it being a little bad potentially. If they're not able to, figure it out super well. You never know, right? But
Yeah.
hopefully it works well. I guess again we will see. But yeah, I'd say I'm like maybe some of this stuff is good. It's not I mean it's all good, right? It's all good, but I don't know. It's not
Yeah.
getting me
All right.
super excited.
Okay, there's one other issue, one other thing here, and then we can kind of talk about our feelings about Live for a second. And they've updated the Pokemon TCG Live known issues tracker. So they have, and this is under, again, I'll probably have a link to this as well. It's in the bugs and feedback where they kind you report things in the forums to the bugs section, but then whether Pokemon reads them or does anything to it is a bit nebulous. So it's all a little bit weird that way too. But this is kind of issues that they are aware of, and they put it out there for people to know. And they've done it in the past, this known issues thing, but for the most part, it sits there and it doesn't get touched very often. So I think it's been at least 6 months since it was last edited. I could be wrong because I used to pay attention. I stopped paying attention because I noticed Pokemon didn't seem to care about it. But they updated that as well. So that's why I think they're making a big push that they've updated the known issues list. They're changing the to Unity 6, the game engine. They're making, I think, a meaningful change to the deck editor. They said they're going to be fixing the card selection bug. So I think collectively, this is a bunch of positive change, more than we've seen, I think, at any time in the past.
Yeah, yeah.
You
I
sound
mean, like,
skeptical.
yes, I guess. I don't know. So part of it, we're going to talk about as we kind of, because we kind of talked about, I finished talking about like the actual like objective stuff. We're going to talk about like our
Yeah.
thoughts on it. Um, but like it's not they're not doing that much. Like it could be true, but it's not like they're doing a ton of amazing stuff either.
Yeah, look, one of the questions which I used to consider more regularly, I stopped considering because it was too uh, distressing, is comparing live to Pokemon TCG Online. So with these changes, I think it's going to be as good as the old game was that we had 4 years ago. I think they're finally going to get it to that point. Now it's a bit depressing that it's taken this much just to get back to where we used to be. But I think it will get us to that point, in which case then there's room for it actually to get better in the future.
Yeah. So with that, in some sense, I kind of agree. One of the things though I do, I mean, I feel like Pokemon TCG Online, a lot of people act like it's like really good, or it was like really good, and it like was not very good. I mean, it was okay,
Yeah.
right? Um,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, when Live was announced, everyone was really excited about Live and just talked about how much it was needed to replace Pokemon TCGO. So, yes, I think it's good to remember that things needed to be addressed.
yeah. And then we see that things have um changed, but they haven't like necessarily gotten better, or they have not gotten better. So that's unfortunate, obviously there.
Yeah,
But in some ways they have. I mean, I don't know. There's one thing that I think is a really huge thing, and that's the accessibility of the cards.
yeah,
And it's so much easier to get cards. In terms of the features that Pokemon TCG Online had, and like it worked a little better. I'd say Live has more bugs than Pokemon TCG Online, but Pokemon TCG Online ran really hot. I think it actually no, does Live run hotter than? I don't know. They're both pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie. I know Live has been really
yeah,
bad. I think it's gotten a bit better. But ultimately, they both have substantial issues, but Live is going to be a little worse in that department. But then it is newer, and it like looks newer.
yeah,
I mean, it should look newer because it is a lot newer, but
yeah,
it looks and like just generally, I'd say works. I don't know if it works a little better, but it's kind of similar there. And then it does have some features missing, notably like format stuff. Notably, it doesn't have full
yeah,
expanded, and it doesn't have friend matches and expanded. It doesn't have. There's some other forms. There's theme format as well, which was honestly a really amazing format, which I really like and you really liked. And
yeah.
then there was trading. Trading, I'd say was bad. So I'm definitely not gonna bash that. And in terms of the economy, was trading was the heart of the economy in Pokemon TCG Online. Um, I think it's really I think it's just so much better. You can really get cards. I actually now the more I think about it, the more I like the change to making the alternate arts or whatever more difficult to obtain. Or as in you can't craft them as early,
Mhm.
meaning that there's some more value specifically for veteran players for opening packs because right now like or essentially opening anything like there's not really any reason to do it. You essentially have all the stuff you need. If you're
Yeah.
a brand new player, you won't, right? But if you are someone who's been playing for a little while, you'll have everything you can need pretty easily, except for a few cards which you like can't get at all. Like
Right.
the like the City in Paradise Resort, I don't think you can really get unless you get a code card there. But ultimately, I think the
Yeah.
economy is like so much better, and that's I mean, Pokemon TCG Online, you could play you certainly couldn't play all the top decks all the time. In Pokemon TCG Live, you can again, unless you're a very new player. If you're a new player, just play a little more, and then you'll get the stuff. I'd say it's like it'd be maybe nice if for specifically like I know some people who play the Pokemon TCG like physically, and then like want to get into Live, and so they like know what they're looking for, and they just can't get it, and that's kind of annoying. But for like an actual new player, kind of experiencing things as you get them as well is kind of nice, and I think works at least pretty well. And I don't think it's too bad to get the cards quickly. I think it takes some time, but it's doable there. But ultimately, the economy is a lot better. You can get stuff much easier, and then
Yeah.
the actual features, in terms of features Life has added, it hasn't really added features again outside like the economy being better, which isn't really a feature. They have added the trainer trials format, which I
Right.
do theoretically like, but the formats they've chosen are so underwhelming. I'd say GLC is cool, and the rest are bad. I mean, there's like a couple others that are cool as well, but the GLC is the only one that's been both cool and done a bunch. I'd say, like
Yeah.
Twin Battle is, like to bash on that one because it's bad. And then there's also like the newest one's just standard, but it's only fighting type, which is not very interesting. Have you played that? I can't imagine you have.
I have not. No. Yeah, the trainer trials was nice when they added it, and I thought it was I was excited about it, but I found it, yeah, to be very underwhelming, unfortunately. So, yeah, yeah. So I don't really pay attention to it. I know like when the new cards came out and rotation happened, it happens immediately in live, but then it's out of sync with IRL play, so they give the trainer trials for the for the pre-rotation format, which was good. That was a nice thing there too, because people do want to be able to use it for prepping, so it has some value. But the trainer trials, yeah, they haven't done it hasn't been a good job, and I don't know if there's enough player interest in the trainer trials, even if they have good formats to really make them exciting places, or if there's just everyone's going to be in standard format anyway.
Yeah, and I definitely think I mean, in some ways, if they pushed it more, that would be good. As I said, GLC is, and we kind of talked about this. GLC, I'd say the other train trial that was really quote unquote good is the one that I think we talked about this. And do you remember what the
Mhm.
other one I said that was potentially the best?
Um, I can't remember now, so go ahead.
It's the trick or treat one.
The trick or treat, the one I hated. Okay, the one,
It's
yeah, four rare candies and four Schwitz cards, and then life is good. Okay.
with then the one with all the ace backs and the
Oh, because they did it
yeah,
wrong.
they did it wrong. They accidentally unbanned every card and also let you put as many ace specs as you wanted in your deck, which was really funny. Of course, it's not good, but it was fun and people really enjoyed watching videos. I think they enjoyed playing it theoretically. They just didn't know about it because it didn't work. I think
Yeah.
in all my games I played, I saw one person using it. And also the other decks I played against were like not good. If I was playing against people who like were playing like good decks that were like by the rules or whatever, I'd
Yeah.
feel kind of bad if I like beating them up with like. I guess I do feel bad about the person I did the Flapple Infinite too, which I mean I did lose, I timed out, but anyways, like it was really funny, and I think in some sense good. I mean, in some sense it's really bad because they completely like messed it up so badly.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it was legitimately very fun. Well, it was fun because it was so like kind of out there. And most of them have been, I mean, like a lot of them have just been subsets of standard, and like it's like standard's cool, standard's good, but then like why do I want to play a worse standard? For the most part, not like weaker though the decks are weaker, but like
Mhm.
as for a standard format, which is the cards aren't designed. I mean, the cards aren't quite designed for it, and it still has like the same themes and gameplay patterns as standard. I feel like you're looking for something new and exciting, and I'd like to find that even if it doesn't have to be in trade trials. But when I look for like you said, this update and like the stuff going on here is mostly fixing issues, and that is good. It's not even like fixing all the issues, but it's it's not really adding exciting new stuff to the game. And especially as a player, it's not adding anything I couldn't really do before, which is why I don't know if I'd say I'm disappointed, but I'm definitely not as excited as it about it as you are.
All right. I mean, the one thing they're lacking compared to the PTCGO is expanded, and that's what they need to address. That now they didn't address expanded at all within the letter or anything here, which I'm a bit surprised at. I guess. Look, first, I'm not. I mean, I'm not surprised they're not addressing. They've said they're going to add the cards in over time. That's what they said they were going to do, and they said it would start this year. I think came out in like January or something. So I think later, and they just said sometime this year, if I recall correctly. So I think that my expectation is later this year they'll start doing that. But so they're doing a lot of changes here anyway. So adding a bunch of old cards, it would just be looking for even more trouble than I think we may be getting with these changes. So I get why they're holding that off, but that does need to get addressed. One of the questions I have, and I'm not sure how what my where I settle on it, and want to hear what Ten Types has to thinks, and also in the comments too, is with Pokemon TCG Live, it's a free game, and we're comparing it to, I think, to paid games, right? Either where there's some pay aspect in it. So and look, Pokemon's a big company, so we're gonna hold them to high standards. We're not gonna say, oh, it's a free game, whatever you get is we don't care about. We're not, I get why we have higher standards, but it's naturally to compare it to games that are making money. Live is not, and I don't think it ever will. Certainly not as long as it's not available in Japan, which I don't see that changing anytime soon, if ever. So therefore, it's always going to be kind of this fringe game, and therefore, in terms of where it fits in the Pokemon ecosystem. So how good is it going to get? We expect it to be good, to be full blown, to have all the stuff and whistles and bells, but at some point it might not have it. I know Pokemon kind of thinks of it as a play testing device for IRL play, which I get that idea. But then if that's the case, why do you have all these other little formats and all these whistles and bells to get casual people excited, right? They're also trying to make it its own thing at the same time. So I think Pokemon's a bit confused about live, what it is, what its place is, and therefore it's hard to know what it should be, and it's hard to judge it properly because I expect good things of it. I kind of expect it, yes, not say compared to Magic the Gathering Arena. That's very expensive game in terms of getting the cards in it if you want to do that. So I don't expect it to be as polished as that, but I kind of expect it to be a lot closer to that than live is right now. But maybe that's not fair. Maybe it's just a little free game that should just think of it as being kind of a very second or third tier game. But I don't think Pokemon wants that. So it's just a weird place.
Yeah, I definitely think. I mean, in terms of comparing it to paid games, I think as I was saying, the economy is really good. You can get essentially whatever you want
Yes.
for free, and so that's like a good, legitimately really good upside. In terms of the game, though, as you're saying, like I do think, and if people know me, that you know that I like the casual side. I'm not really that much into the competitive side. Obviously into like a serious side. I play the game a lot. I like to play good, fun, and powerful decks. But ultimately, I think they need to appeal to the casual players because that is the bulk of the players. And I know a lot of people who've gotten into the Pokemon TCG and then have some have gotten in through Pokemon TCG Live, some have gotten in and then switched over to Pokemon TCG Live. But it's definitely been part of that system for new players. And in some sense, that is getting them more into serious play, but some of it's just like getting them into like experiencing the game. And I mean, it is legitimately a good way to experience the game. It is by no means perfect. It does have flaws, but I think it is cool. Something that new players do enjoy, and as they're adding more stuff for that, I think that is good. I think And in terms of, I don't know, I mean, ultimately, I think I talk about this a lot of times with GLC, where I think that overlap between GLC and and live is relatively small. And I get comments. It's like
Yeah.
someone's like, yeah, I mean, like if there was full GLC, then maybe they'd play it more, which is true, right? But like they don't
Yeah.
currently they don't play live. Or some do, obviously. It's not like an exclusive thing. But even the comment that was like almost like defending it was literally saying that they didn't play live. One of those comments. So, anyways, but in terms of competitive players, I think there is some overlap certainly. But I think it's not like there are definitely people. I think most people who play live to play live, right?
Yeah.
And in some ways they are a quieter voice. I think that is like a big, but they are there. There's going to be a lot of people. And I think it's really important, right, to have this the casual scene and also the casual scene. Even if you do just care about the competitive scene kind of starts at the casual scene as well. They kind of feed into each other, right? So
Yeah.
adding cool stuff for casual players is important. That being said, something like the trade trials, I would say in some ways is for a more dedicated quote dedicated casual player, which is like exactly me. I think it's you. I think that's like really me. That's like exactly my thing. I like silly but in-depth things. And something like say Singleton Showdown or whatever it's called is um not quite that. It did, but it's like okay, it's okay for casual players, I guess. Maybe I don't know. Tell us in the comment section for those of you who have played the Trench Trials, which your favorites are, what you've enjoyed, and what features in live you enjoy. Because there are different features, and a lot of people like really enjoy the collecting aspect as well. I think a good place to look actually is Pocket, and I think Pocket's started out in a really good place. And in some ways, I think Pocket as a format of the Pokemon TCG is like that's the best way to look at it. Where it
Yeah.
has some cool things it does, and in some ways those also kind of stalled out. So I think but looking there, looking at how that like really captures collectors and casual players, but also like actual players of the game. It's not just collecting. I think overall it that says somewhat of a good example, but also it did fall off as well. But I mean, it has introduced people to the game as well and introduced them to playing the game casually. I know a few people who, actually, I know a good chunk of people who've just played Pocket, not the regular TCG, who kind of enjoy it and would enjoy the full TCG. Sometimes they look towards live, and then live, it falls short. It's
Yeah.
not unplayably bad or anything. It's a cool game, and I think all of us want live to be good. I think certainly you and I want live to be good, and we critique it because we care about it. But it's definitely something that needs to tap into the full scene of the Pokemon TCG, and not just this like big tournament style thing, which is like fine. But I think they like with the trainer trials focusing on that. That's like fine. And some sense if they have the trainer trials like be that when it's that's the time, and then just do other stuff at other times. It's fine, I guess. I think then its identity is going to be even more like blurry. And I don't know. Tell us if you've also played the pre-rotation or post-rotation trainer trials, like the one that was essentially the opposite of what the format actually was. Because I don't really know anyone
Yeah.
who actually did that, but maybe they did, and I just didn't. But ultimately, I don't know. I think it's some cool stuff. But again, as you're saying, the identity is kind of lost there. The Pokemon's confused about it.
Yeah, it's not clear what Pokemon's understanding of live is. I don't know if the Pokemon Company knows what live is, and obviously, like not going to, it's run by one branch of the company, the international, not not the parent company, which has oversees the whole world. It's most of the world, but it's not all the world with live. So it's a weird dynamic. Yeah, let us know with live. Let us know too. Are you excited about with these changes or not? I think I'm hopeful that this is the start of some big changes where if they can get kind of their house in order, so to speak, and get live working the way it should, then it will allow them to develop the game properly after that. So I'm hopeful that that's the case, but certainly at the same time fearful that we may have a bit of a mess coming up on Tuesday when these changes get implemented.
Yeah, part of me is almost excited for Tuesday just to kind of see what happens. But honestly, I think you're definitely more hopeful or more excited than I am. I think it'll
Yeah.
end up working out in the long run fine. I think even if they don't work immediately, I think these changes will get big. I think they, have said things that they can do. Um, Even if it's not do
Yeah.
amazingly, I think they can do it like okay. And I think we'll see that, but it's not again super exciting. But and tell us your thoughts in the comments section. We'd love to hear your feedback on all of this and your thoughts on like live and things you want to see from it in the future. I'd love to hear that. But we hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we'll probably have probably another episode, maybe just like videos, maybe another episode. We'll see on live, depending how things go. Hopefully they go well. Hopefully they're like, oh, we actually we lied. We're adding all of expanded as well, and it actually works. Maybe you never know. Actually, you do. Let's be honest, but they're not doing that. But hopefully it's good and exciting.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, and take care.